Thank you all for being here today. Good afternoon. My name is Caitlin Yeager. Welcome to Missouri Humanities Grants Workshop, focused specifically on grants for film projects. Like I said, my name is Caitlin Yeager. I'm a program director with Missouri Humanities, and my emphasis is on video and podcast production. And also leading this webinar is Clarice Britton, our director of operations, and she's also our grants administrator. For those of you who may not be familiar, Missouri Humanities is a statewide member-supported nonprofit organization dedicated to enriching lives and strengthening communities by connecting Missourians with the people, places, and ideas that shape our society. We fulfill this mission through two major pillars, providing educational public programming and grant funding to support our vision for a more thoughtful, informed, and civil society. We, of course, invite you to learn more by following us on social media at MoHumanities and finding out more at mohumanities.org. Our main objective today, as you all know, is to guide you through Missouri Humanities Grants Program, and we'll spend some time going through our grant guidelines, and then we'll have some time after that for some questions related specifically to the grant guidelines and application process. After that, we'll introduce a few guests who work directly with filmmakers and in the filmmaking industry, with particular emphasis on nonprofit work, who will share their tips and resources to make your project successful. And we'll be sure to leave plenty of time for questions towards the end. And a note about how we're going to be doing Q&A today. We'll be utilizing Zoom's chat feature and Q&A feature to answer questions. And for the sake of time, we will not be utilizing the raise your hand feature. So just the Q&A feature or the chat feature, which can be found on the bottom of your Zoom screen. So before we begin, we'd like to learn a little bit more about who is joining us today. So I'm going to launch a poll. So on your screen, what will pop up is 4 questions. And after the poll ends, we'll launch into Clarice's grants presentation. So let me get the poll launched, and we'll learn a little bit more about who's with us today. 84% of our participants have never applied for a grant with Missouri Humanities. 14% have applied a couple times and was awarded, and 2% applied but not awarded. And nobody is an old pro that it's applied and gotten accepted for many grants. Affiliation is all over the place. We've got 53% being filmmakers or creators, 21% affiliated with a Missouri nonprofit, 20% of that is both of the above, and 5% is other or none of the above. And as far as who heard, how people hear about this webinar, pretty split between Missouri Humanities and word of mouth or someone else's social media. And a really good amount of people have never had a Missouri Humanities program or event before. So welcome to Missouri Humanities. We're so happy to have you here. Thank you all for participating in that poll. It really helps kind of gauge who's in the room with us and help guide the conversation. Okay, so at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Clarice Britton. Clarice has been with Missouri Humanities for many, many years. I won't say how many, but she is our guru.
I don't care.
She's our guru. It's been about 30 years now, hasn't it almost?
28.
28, yeah. So she is our go-to person when it comes to Missouri Humanities. She's our rock, and I'm really excited for her to tell you all about our grants program, especially after hearing how many of you have never interacted with Missouri Humanities before or applied for a grant. So Clarice, I'm going to turn this over to you and take it away. Let's hear all about Missouri Humanities grants.
Okay. Thank you everyone for coming to this event today, this webinar. So happy to hear that it's new people on here. So you're here at a good time because of the way we do our grants now. So it's a whole new way that we do it. So I like to say, start off saying my name is Clarice Britton, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about our grant process. I will let you know that we give our grant 4 times a year, 2 mini grants, 2 major grants. And it's a great thing that you all are getting to involved with this now because our grants have upped in price. $5,000 for mini grants now and $15,000 for major grants. Our mini grants go out November the 1st and May the 1st. Our major grants, we're submitted February the 1st and August the 1st. And now we do something a little bit different when we put out our grants. We put them out a month before the deadline. So for the grants, they go out November the 1st. They'll go out October the 1st. And you could start applying October the 1st up until November the 1st at 11:59 p.m. November the 1st, that's the cutoff. The same with our May grant, which is the mini grant that's coming up again soon. It begins April the 1st all the way to May the 1st, and that's for $5,000. The same goes for the major grants. It starts February the 1st and we'll put it out January the 1st. You go out into January to February to submit it. And the next one for major grants is August the 1st and August the 1st. You have from July to August the 1st to do that. That's a major grant for $15,000. There are a few things that we do ask now when you apply for a grant. You must be an organization. You must have a 501c3, have a letter to state that you are a 501c3. If you are an individual, you can usually get a sponsor or an organization to help you out. It used to be a big thing that you needed a DUNS number. DUNS numbers are no longer needed. You need a UEI number, which is a unique entity ID number. You will get this from the SAMS.gov page. At the end of this program, Caitlin will be sending out a one-page about all the links that you can go to help you with grants. Also, when you apply for a grant, you will have whatever funds you receive from Missouri Humanities, you will have to match one-on-one. So say you get 5,000, you would have to match that with 5,000. Don't necessarily have to be cash. It could be in kind. In kind is volunteer time, office space that's donated, or the project director time. So if you want to use all in kind, that's more than welcome to do as well. And as I said, there'll be links to give a little bit more information about this since I only have so much time. Now, when you go to apply for a grant from Missouri Humanities, we have a new program called Founded. All this is up on our website that you can go to. The first thing to do when you do this, to get into Founded, you would have to set up a login information. Please write your password down because this is the place you will go to every time that you go to look at your grant, anything about your grant. This is where you will start. Once you have that put in your login and get all that set up, then what you can do is set up your organization information. Like I said, remember, no longer a DUNS number, always only concentrate on a UEI number. It'll have step-by-step what you need to put in as well. Also, we don't open up the grants page. The application is closed until April the 1st. So right now, if you would, after this, if you want to go and mess around with it, to put your information in about your organization, you can do that. The application will not be available until April the 1st. Then you can start working on that. I would also like to say when you go and it's time to apply for a grant, at least have it 60 days out. Don't go and apply for a grant, say you want to go in May 1st and apply for it and say you want it June, at least July or August. So they give you plenty enough time because it takes anywhere between 4 to 6 weeks for the process. Once it leaves us, I have to give it to the grants committee. They have to look it over and everything. Then it gets back to us, and that's going to be a little bit of time. So always keep that in mind. Also keep in mind, if this is your first time applying for a grant, I'm more than welcome to look over the grant for you. So once you have it and the grant application is in the draft, keep it in the draft. Just shoot me an email and say, Clarice, would you look it over? See if there's anything I'm missing on it. And I'll go in and look it over. Then I'll respond back to you and say, everything looks good. Submit it and you're all taken care of. You can go from there. I'm trying to think. I was just trying to do bits and pieces to see what else can I tell you about it. We talked about okay. And I think I've told you everything. It's really simple. It's not very hard at all. I'm always here to help out in any way I can. Like I said, the 3 things I want you to always remember is 501c3, have the letter to let us know that you're there. Always go if you need a UEI number, sam.gov. I can walk you through that. It's very simple. It's no problem going through that, trying to get that. Also the funds. Once you, like I said, whatever you ask for it, you have to match that. So that's not hard at all. So at this time, I can take a few questions and, if there's anything I kept other people with, let's get some questions answered.
We have someone that asked in the chat about the funding rate, and it's mini grants are $5,000.
$5,000 for mini grants, $15,000 for major grants. Also, when you're doing a grant, if you're going to use volunteer time to use for in-kind, on the piece of paper that's going to be passed, that Caitlin is going to send to you, I have a link on there that can tell you where to go to get volunteer hours, how much it costs for volunteer hours.
I was curious if they meant funding rate, if they meant of the people that apply, how many do you actually fund?
Mm.
Oh, okay. Well, we try to fund as many people as we can. We got a pretty good rate. Like say if 50 people apply, at least probably 30 to 40 of those people would get funded. So as long as we have the money, we try to fund everyone.
We have somebody, actually, this question's been asked twice now. Asking essentially if you are a filmmaker who is going to partner with a nonprofit to apply for the grant, does that mean the film's project needs to be related to that nonprofit's mission?
Not necessarily. If you've spoken with the nonprofit and they say they respond to you and what you're asking them to do, then that would be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of questions. Can in-kind include donated equipment?
Yes, again.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
All grants do require a match.
are there different qualifications for the mini and major grant?
Both of the grants are exactly the same. One is just a mini, one is a major. That's it. Same questions.
Someone says, I have property in Missouri, but full-time residence in another state. Can I still apply?
They have what? Property in
They have
Missouri.
property in Missouri, but full-time residence in another state.
Yeah, they can still apply because the person who they want to apply, they want to apply as long as the person that is applying for the grant, all that information is in Missouri. The
Mhm.
person can be out of town now. That person can come in and working through the person in Missouri. That's fine.
Someone is viewing this with their classroom. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Their school organization. Is there anything a school would have to do in particular? Anything different?
No, same criteria.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's see. Someone asked, are these grants only for nonprofits? If you have an LLC but not a nonprofit, can you apply?
No, you have to be a nonprofit. And
Yes.
if you want, usually if you're LLC, you can usually go through someone to sponsor you, but you have to be a 501c3.
My organization was doing interviews to video older residents of our community. We were using a volunteer to film and edit the interviews, but they got overwhelmed by the process. Understandable. Can the grant be used to hire someone to film and edit the videos?
Yes, they can.
Absolutely.
Yes, yes.
That's what we really want. The message we really want to get across here is that we want
Yes.
this to help organizations pay for videographers and a filmmaking crew and all that.
Yes.
Do all grants require a match?
Yes.
But it's there's a lot of different ways you can make up that match.
There's a lot of different ways.
Do not let a match discourage you.
Please do not let it. You can use all in kind, and like I said, in kind is the project director's time, the volunteer's time, whatever is donated to you, materials, you can use that as in kind. Office space can be in kind. It's all kind of in kind you can use.
And just to clarify, I think Clarice, what you were meaning was fiscal sponsorship, just so people are understanding
Yes.
what that, yeah, the fiscal sponsorship aspect.
When do the funds have to be spent?
Usually within a year. If you see that it's going to be over the year, then just give me a call and we can usually extend it, but usually a year.
Okay. So someone asked what is considered a major versus mini project, and that kind of got clarified earlier. There's no difference. It's just the amount of funding. Same kinds
It's just
of
the amount of funding
guidelines.
you need at that time.
Okay. So can someone apply for both grants in the same year?
Yes, you can. It's always, I hate to say this, first come, first serve, but so say you applied for a grant and you got funding for it and you want to apply again. You can apply, but someone else that comes in may get it before you because if they're a first time person, we always want to help out people who's coming for the first time.
Mm-hmm. Someone just joined us and asked also what the difference is between a mini and major grant. Nothing, literally nothing. Just the amount of funding.
It's just the amount the money that you need at the time.
Got a lot of questions, guys. I'll try to get to them all. We're making good time. Someone already asked about the timeline for the funds. Do you have to have a launch forum, speakers event, or some kind of premiere? And do you need the number of views?
Would you say that again for me?
Do you have to have a launch, speakers event, or some kind of premiere? I think like in addition to producing the video, would you have to have some sort of public event with it? I'm assuming is what you're asking, Katie or Kathy. And do you need the number of views?
That would be great if you can do that.
It would be great, but not
Not
required,
necessary.
I would say.
Not required, but it'd be great if you did that.
Is a narrative feature which highlights a historical Missouri figure an acceptable type of project for grant consideration?
Yes.
Will the folks that applied for a major grant know whether or not they will receive it before the next grant deadline? So like,
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Yes.
Just confirm, does the nonprofit need to be based in Missouri?
Yes, it does.
Can you apply for multiple grants for the same project?
If you get awarded the first time, is it like a continuance? The next step and the next step?
I would think so, yeah.
You can do that.
But can you explain like what the limitations are, like of
Right,
how often
so-
you can receive funding?
Right. So say you apply for a grant and we've helped you out the first time, and say you apply again and we helped you out the second time. Now, the third time we're going to ask you, because what we want you to do is receive the money from us and get you started that you can continue it on, but don't always come back and ask us for the money. A couple of times that's fine, but just to continue it on, no. At some point it's going to have to stop, where you can go to other people and ask them for the money.
This is a good question that I think a lot of people will wonder. BJ asks, what tips and tricks to be successful in securing the grant do you have? What things have you noticed in the past that happened that led to someone not getting accepted? So some things that strengthen your application.
So what strengthens it is detail, being very detailed. When it comes to the budget page, please put on the budget page what you're asking for, why you're asking for it, and how you're going to match it. Please explain all that in the narrative budget as well. Go step by step on the grant application and be very detailed. Whereas when I see it, I'm like, oh my God, this person put everything down. How many seats they need, how many people are going to attend, who the speaker is, how much money they need, how much they're going to match it with. Very detailed.
Someone asked, and this is a easy question. This will be recorded and we will put it on our YouTube page. So if you've missed any part of this or you want to rehear these questions, this will be available on our YouTube page. Can you get funded for mini and major in the same cycle? They're different cycles. So technically no, right? Like,
yeah, well, yeah, they're different cycles. It could be in the same year, but it's different cycles because the major is in February, the major February and August, and the mini is November and May.
Are there certain film genres that are not approved? I'm looking to film seniors in our area and get their memories and very important dialects on film. I think that sounds great.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. We're kind of new to like funding film projects. So we don't exactly have an answer for like what genre would not be allowed. It would really, I think, be on a project by project basis, depending on what content it is. So we might be a little bit more well-versed with that after a couple rounds of these kinds of grants. If we hire professionals, do you have a list of recommended videographers? I do believe Andrea might. So we'll get to that. There's a couple questions in here that I'm skipping because they will get answered with Andrea, Dan, and Kyle. If you're a Missouri resident, can you shoot your project out of state?
No.
Yeah.
It has to be in Missouri.
Money needs to be spent in Missouri.
Money needs to be, yes.
Film equipment can be used as in-kind, ? For instance, most of our local filmmakers are using their own equipment.
Oh, yeah.
I think just to clarify on the money should be spent. So what if this is a project that is, this is just part of the funding structure that they're using to actually complete the piece? And so that money was being spent here, but there was additional matching funds that would allow them to travel amongst, other space and stuff like that. So that's a clarification based on, yes, but this money, and I think that's something that people that are doing grants and stuff like that really, just have to consider, is that some things are here and some things can be, out of state or even out of country. But what you all are saying, your budget details are just pointed to specifically to Missouri project.
To Missouri, right.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry. So scrolling through, I'm going to give this a couple more minutes and then I will work to answer some of these kind of throughout the program. Because again, I think you'll get a lot more information from Dan, Kyle, and Andrea as well.
Right.
Let's see.
And like Caitlin said, we are going to record this, but you're free to call me anytime, you know, who's on the webinar, call me and ask any questions. So if you don't get everything, of course, you won't get all your answers today. So you're more than welcome to give me a call. On the one pager that Caitlin is going to send out, my phone number is on there, Missouri Humanities.
Is there any difference between filmmakers grants from all your grants? No, we are just
No.
trying to open it up to a new audience who might not have applied for grants before. So
right.
film grants will be in the same group as all our other grants, just with, you know, more emphasis than we have in the past.
Right.
And then where's the grant money coming from? Our organization receives funding in a few different ways. Most of our grant funding comes from, Clarice, is it NEH or is it state? Which one do we?
The state.
The state. Yeah, so we are funded through what's called the non-resident athletes and entertainers tax. So individual Missouri citizens are not taxed to receive or for Missouri Humanities. It's from big sports teams, big concerts, that kind of thing. Most of the cultural partners that get state funding are funded through this A&E tax. And then the other part of our funding is from the National Endowment for the Humanities, and then memberships and donations. Does a filmmaker still own their film if they accept an MHC grant? Do we gain equity or interest in the film project or legal right? We will not have legal rights to the film. You retain your rights to it. We would love to be able to show it, you know, on our streaming platforms or on our social media if you were to allow us, but you still retain full rights of your film.
Is there certain credits that the project should give in their credits to Missouri Humanities Council?
Yes, and we'll detail all of that kind of in the grant guidelines and all that. But yes, Missouri Humanities would need to be credited if you were to receive a grant from us to work on a film project. Okay, let me see if we got any more. Okay, there's a few questions on here, but again, I think we'll get to some of this. So I'm going to continue on. Clarice, thank you so much. I know you guys have so many questions and there's a lot of questions, especially since so many of you are new to Missouri Humanities, but Clarice is here for you. I'm here for you. We're all here for you. We'll get through it, I promise.
And visit our webpage. It has a lot of information on there as well.
And I know I saw something that it's a lot easier to talk about what's not eligible for funding than what is, just because what is eligible is so broad. So if you are questioning whether or not your project is qualifying for a humanities grant, just give Clarice a call. Really, most people on our staff should be able to answer as well. So we're all very well versed in our grants application and what kinds of projects will be funded. So please, you know, reach out if you have any questions that might not get answered today. So at this time, I am going to introduce Andrea at the Missouri Film Office. Andrea Sporcic Klund directs the Missouri Film Office, a part of the Missouri Division of Tourism. She's been in the film business representing Missouri for over 17 years. Since 2005, she's worked to market Missouri to the film and television industry nationwide. She's helped coordinate production logistics for more than 30 feature films and hundreds of television segments and series filmed all over the state. Before joining the film office, she spent 8 years with Cinema St. Louis, the producers of the St. Louis International Film Festival, as director of operations. She also has acted, written, directed, and produced for the stage and the screen. So we're going to turn it over to Andrea to tell you about all the wonderful resources that the Missouri Film Office has for you all. So take it away, Andrea.
Thank you. Thank you. First, I want to say this is exciting that these film grants, that you're opening up to more film grants. It's a great resource for me to be able to direct filmmakers and storytellers too. So I'm very excited about this program and about the TV series you're going to hear about later, the TV network. Shh, that's coming. Okay, the Missouri Film Office is also a state agency like the Missouri Humanities. We are under economic development. So we've been around since 1983, not myself, but the office since 1983. a lot of you, I do have seen some names pop up, so a lot of you do know me already, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but we'll take questions at the end. Our website is mofilm.org, mofilm.org. On our website, you can find a lot of things. One is your crew database. You were looking for where you can find filmmakers, where you can find folks to hire, to work with. You can find all of that on our website. Also, we have a locations database of people that have put their locations open to filmmakers, just as an idea of what you can shoot, where you can shoot. You still have to negotiate with the location yourself. We don't do that part. We run another program called the Missouri Stories Scriptwriting Fellowship and the Missouri Stories Production Lab. Those for screenwriters, you don't have to be a Missourian, but you have to set your screenplay or TV pilot script in Missouri. We've been doing this for 10 years. This is our 10th year. Pretty cool stuff. What most of you might want to know about, and I won't go into detail because we'll do another webinar later, but we do have a brand new incentive. We had an incentive for a long time, and then we had 10 years where we didn't have an incentive. It's a tax credit program. We have 16 million each year, 8 million for film production, 8 million for episodic. There are currently funds available. There's a lot of criteria, and the two important things are there's a minimum spend, 30 minutes or less, it is a $50,000 spend. Over 30 minutes, it is a $100,000 spend. And the percentage that you get back in the form of a tax credit is between 20 and 42% with some different variables. But this is not about my incentive program. This is about the grants. So we can follow up later. I think I'm going to stop there if anybody has any questions.
We did have one that came up earlier that I was saving for you. So how would a Missouri Humanities grant interact with Missouri film tax credits? That's a good
Okay.
question.
It's a very good question. So our tax credit is not first money, where it sounds like the humanities money could be first money in. So before you can apply for the tax credit, you would have to have your budget to film your project already in hand. So that could include money from humanities. Yeah.
Any questions for film office in particular? Someone asked earlier about if we want to make a film, is there a place where we can find a good videographer? Can you talk about those kinds of resources that the film office has?
Yep. So there's a searchable database it's a production directory. You can put in the region of the state you're looking and the crew position you're looking for. You can just put in the region and everybody that in every category will come up. So it's a good way to meet new people. Their contact information is there. You can email them, all of that stuff. And if you are a filmmaker with at least 3 credits, you can list yourself on that directory as well. And I encourage you to do so.
Right. Someone says, it's not a question, but a statement. Amanda knows how to write a grant, and I know how to film a 360 and interactive cave. So if someone is interested in doing something like that, add them to your film list. So Amanda,
awesome.
if you want to put in the chat your email address, I can include that in our follow-up to these participants if you're interested. Any other questions for Andrea with film office in particular? Okay. Well, oh, here we go. Film office question. Sorry. Can this grant be applied to technical capabilities such as coding a digital architect for a website that is specific to filmmakers, filmmaking? Also can be applied to a social media director who works with the same, all of which is Missouri based. So that's, I guess it's kind of more of a Missouri Humanities question, I think. Clarice, did you hear that? Applied to technical capabilities like coding, a digital architect for a website for filmmakers. I think it would depend on the content. If it was, geared towards humanities content, or if you're creating a resource, that kind of thing, educational resource. I think it just depends on your overall mission with it. Right, Clarice? Would you agree? You're muted.
I'm sorry. That is correct what you were saying.
Okay. Okay, Luke asked, how city specific are you? For example, I want to create a talk show in Kansas City, Missouri for PBS, but I'm unsure how much I should or shouldn't think about tax credit sourcing for its potential future or growth and expansion. Andrea, is that something you can answer?
Call my office and we'll talk about that one. That one's a little more complicated, but yeah, you can apply for the tax credits. Yes.
Okay. All right, I've got Amanda's email address, so I'll be sure to give that to you guys in a follow-up email. Thank you, Amanda. We were joking that what we really need is just a mixer for nonprofits and filmmakers just get together and match up who wants to do what project. So if someone wants to take the lead on that, have at it. Okay, so, Adam wants to know, could you give an overview of what tax credits are?
Sure. Tax credits are basically like a coupon for Missouri tax liability. So you would say you spent $1 million and you get a tax credit back of like $250,000. It would be a tax credit coupon that you could use if you don't have a Missouri tax liability. You can sell them via banks and brokers between 89 and 94 cents on the dollar, depending on the day of the week. Then you turn them into cash. And then some filmmakers have been successful in once you have an approval letter, then you can go to a bank and they can lend you money against the tax credits, and then they will buy your tax credits back. So I think that's the easiest explanation for it.
Andrea, this may involve maybe you talking a little bit about some of the programs or workshops that you guys offer. Someone asks, I find that film grants favor projects focused on production and post-production. Will there be a concerted effort to approve grants with pre-production emphasis like script writing where all stories begin? Usually I have to seek out literary grants to receive funding for a pre-production job like that. So you've got some pre-production opportunities with the film office, don't you?
Yes. So through our script writing fellowship, they aren't cash prizes though. So you win a fellowship experience. We bring in Hollywood working writers. We spend 4 days together. And then we built an alumni kind of network. I based this off the Sundance Labs. I totally stole their idea. And we've made a Missouri Sundance situation. So I do hear you there. That I don't know of any development funds for scriptwriters in Missouri, unfortunately, at this time.
Mm-hmm.
But would the Missouri Humanities Council offer if someone came, hey, we have this idea, but we need to pay somebody to write a script for this idea with this nonprofit? Is it possible that the Missouri Humanities Council would support the script writing, which we call the pre-production process of a film?
What do you think? So
I would
if
have
you
to,
were to, I think, what if you were to outline your whole like pre-production budget, but like that's tricky because we want some sort of public facing component to be the result of the grant. But I feel like if you were to put your entire, I don't know, Clarice,
I
what do you
think the
I
thing
don't
is
know for
somebody
sure.
writes something so that then they can shoot it, so then they can
Right.
edit it, so then they can release it. And they're saying the hard part is
Your help.
actually
Mhm.
being able to write it in the first place.
Let's discuss that, Clarice.
Yes, I need
we'll
to
also
discuss that. Yeah.
a caveat that like Clarice and I aren't the ones that decide who gets grant funding. Our board is. So that's something we'll have to discuss. Like we said, this is a learning curve. So thank you for your patience with us. But I'm going to write that down. That's a really good question. And we'll talk about that more.
Yeah, I think the part of that is, are you all looking for a final product that can be then obviously shown
Mhm.
on your TV station or through your channels and streaming? And I think, yeah, there's a lot of screenplays out there that never got finished. So yeah, it'll be
Right.
hard to fund something without a light at the end of the tunnel.
Right, for sure. And we had someone kind of ask about utilizing an already created film for some sort of public component. I'm not sure about submitting for film festivals. I think somebody asked that. I'm going to look into that for you. But if you have a film that you want to like bring to a public program or show as part of some sort of public facing event, like that would be eligible as well. If you're just trying to increase the engagement with your film, bring it to a new audience, create some sort of program around that, that would be fundable. Okay, I'm going to transition to the next part of our workshop. Sorry, I lost my place in my script. Okay, so thank you, Andrea. That was really helpful. I know the film office does a lot and it's very hard to condense all that down, but Andrea's great. And if you need any help, she is a phone call away, email away. So at this point, I want to introduce Dan from Speak Up and Kyle from Continuity. They are two people that are in the filmmaking industry and have also worked very closely with nonprofits and film production. So Dan is a keynote speaker, award-winning filmmaker, and entrepreneur. As a keynote speaker, he's spoken to audiences nationwide on the ability for regular people to make a huge difference in the world. He's spoken at over 100 universities nationwide, and he's also the director of the feature-length documentaries Show Me Democracy, What Matters, and When the Saints. He is a co-founder, director at Speak Up Studios, which focuses on nonprofit video storytelling. So Dan, I'm going to start with you, and then we'll go over to Kyle.
Thanks, Caitlin. Yeah, it's great to be here. So as Caitlin mentioned, I'm a filmmaker, and one of the great things that's happened for me and a lot of the projects I worked with Kyle here, we received MHC grants. So our first grant was back in 2012 for a program where we were teaching St. Louis public school students how to do video productions. They went into their neighborhoods and their community and they made these little documentaries, and we did a premiere with them all. And yeah, Missouri Humanities Council funded that. And then we came back a few years later, and I was doing the documentary Show Me Democracy, and we needed additional funding to make this documentary. And this documentary was in partnership with the Scholarship Foundation of St. Louis and with Continuity. And so we used that grant. We actually got two MHC grants spread apart at different moments in the film to make this film happen. You know, some of the costs went to production, some of the costs went to helping pay people who were working on the production. Some of them were Continuity students. So Kyle will talk more about Continuity and what Continuity does, but it's also another great partner in the filmmaking space. And so yeah, I would say overall, it's been a great experience. Clarice has always been very helpful. I felt as far as the grants that I've written, this was one of the more, I don't know, I don't want to say easier, but more relatable. Like, hey, like she said,
User-friendly.
user-friendly, like just call me up, you know, and flexible. I think that's the hard part. You're like, okay, what all are the hoops I have to jump through to get this money? And MHC's like, we just want to see this thing made, and we want it to be involved with humanities. So I think that's the key to me. And what I've seen in the grants is that the humanities is a big thing. It's like almost hard to define what is the humanities, but it's a lot of stuff, especially when it comes to filmmaking and art. And one area that you'll see when you go into the grant is you need some humanities experts. So any of your projects, whether they're a documentary, they need to interview some humanities experts. They need to talk, somehow have humanities experts involved in the process. So that's something to be aware of. But it helps you build a larger team, right? And I just submitted another grant to the Missouri Humanities Council. So I'm hopefully, gonna get that grant, and it's for a fiction film, a narrative film done with a nonprofit called Love the Lou. So Love the Lou applied, and we made this short film that also happened to get the first short film tax credit through Andrea's office. And with the support from the film office and other support we've got, we hit that minimum spend. And now we're applying for funds to get the film out to the community. We want to do community screenings, 20 to 30 screenings of this short fiction film that we made. And so I would say these are just great people to work with. From a filmmaker's perspective, that would be the biggest thing I'd say, is that do it. It's a lot, it's a decent amount of work, but I would recommend taking the document, moving it to Google Docs or some kind of platform where you can work together with other people and have different people take different sections, or work with a grant writer. You can find grant writers in different places that can help do the heavy lifting. But you're, as the filmmaker, you're going to have to, figure out your budget. You're going to have to figure out other things. And one thing that I found is that writing this grant almost built our proposals, right? Like when you're going to get funders and investors and other people to support, they want to see a plan. It's a proposal is like a business plan. And what this grant makes you do is basically write that business plan, and you can transform that into a funding plan. Or if you already have your proposal, hopefully you've already answered a ton of the questions that are in their grant, right? And so I would just highly recommend people applying to this grant and working with the team. And I don't know, is there anything else maybe I should touch on, Caitlin, or you feel like that was kind of any other things? Happy to also consult. You can reach out to me at speakupproductions@gmail.com or speakupstudiostl@gmail.com. Speak Up Productions and Speak Up Studios are both companies that I run. Speak Up Studios is I co-founded with Kyle, and that company focuses on nonprofit video production. And then Speak Up Productions is more the documentaries and the narratives. And so if you have any questions in one of those categories, happy to help. This is what I love to do. I love to use filmmaking to make a difference in our community, and nonprofits are the folks making differences in our community. And there's great ways to combine that work and storytelling and filmmaking to really make an impact. And I think it's a win-win for everybody.
Thanks, Dan. Back at you. You're great to work with as well.
Yeah.
So next, we've got Kyle Montgomery. Kyle has co-founded 2 organizations, Speak Up Studios and Continuity. Speak Up aims to create meaningful and inspiring content for nonprofits and cause-based organizations, while Continuity's mission is to expand diversity in media production through skills-based training, mentorship, and opportunities for untapped talent. He's worked with numerous nonprofits in the region, and as co-founder of Continuity, he leads the organization's strategic vision, fundraising, and partnerships, working with the Missouri Film Office, the KC Film Office, the Missouri Arts Council, and the Regional Arts Council. They've also got a new program, Continuity Crew, which provides quarterly day-long advanced workshops on media production topics and practical on-set skills, as well as networking and employment opportunities for our participants through our Crew Apprenticeship Program. So Kyle, I will let you take it from there.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me. And yeah, just to piggyback off of what Dan was saying, I think, a lot of these projects really start with what we would call maybe a treatment. And those treatments actually help you, one, get an idea of what that project's going to look like, but it looks really professional too when you're able to present that to people that are potentially interested in partnering with you. And you can do that through a pitch deck, and that treatment really helps you break down the numbers, really understand exactly what your vision is, but also make it succinct and really clarify so that people don't just think that it's maybe just an idea. A lot of us have ideas, a lot of us have dreams that we want to, turn into films or projects or all those kinds of things. But I think what most important is finishing, and I think finishing is, a really big part of this work. So it's great to see some of our continuity family here in this in attendance. I'm excited to see the projects that you all create, and I'm actually working with a few people, just to help them kind of navigate what it looks like to really connect as an artist, creator, or creative to a nonprofit. I think that all of us, whether we realize it or not, have someone either in our family, community, or close circle that actually has a nonprofit that has a story worth telling. And I think that's what these grants are really supportive of. And so it's just thinking about that, really looking into your network, really looking into the stories that you connect with, maybe even the foundations or the organizations that you give to as a funder, and think about how that could relate into a story that would want to be, seen by many others, either through HTV or through your own, film festival journey, whatever that looks like. I just think that there's so many organizations, especially as philanthropic as St. Louis is, that we shouldn't have much trouble finding an organization that we could tell a story about, do it within the boundaries that the grant is set, and always lean on the fact that, as Dan said, MHT is a great partner, and Clarice and Caitlin are going to be able to help you answering those questions. Michael too, I see you hopping in and out. So all of these people are there for you, and myself too, and along with Dan and Andrea for all the other ancillary details depending on how big the project gets. But yeah, definitely take a look at Continuity if you haven't. It's continuitystl.org. You can see some of the work that we're getting into as far as really training and helping to build the workforce development aspect of our industry. But also we just have a great connection to the people that you may want to connect with to do this work together, right? To crew for these positions, to really find your co-producer, your editor, your DP, whatever those positions are. they may or may not be just as close as an email away.
And I'll add on to that. When we did the short film, I think 5 or 6 of our crew were continuity grads, right? So continuity was really specific about putting people on our set. It was one of the biggest sets I've been on. And so it's a great organization to plug into, because they're going to then help you plug into other people and other bigger projects and get on sets and stuff like that to learn if you're still in kind of that learning and growing stage.
Yeah. So we have our workshop series, which is the crew workshops, and then we're also piloting crew labs, which will be in partnership with Bad Dog. And yeah, just getting that launched. As of right now, we already have a sold out event. So unfortunately, we don't have any more opportunities for entry into our program at this time. But as we continue to grow, we're hoping to connect with more locations as we launched in Kansas City in November. And so ideally, we'll have some more opportunities to grow and expand diversity and just skills of media production in our region, state, and hopefully however far people want to go and make those projects. Awesome.
Thank you. Super helpful. You guys are great. We appreciate all the work that you guys do in Missouri and beyond. So for the last portion of our workshop, we are going to open it up to more questions. And if they're for Clarice, if they're for Dan, Kyle, or Andrea, whoever you want to ask a question to, we welcome you to. And as you start kind of submitting those, I'm going to talk about one other opportunity from Missouri Humanities, and that is Missouri Humanities TV. So Humanities TV was launched just last winter, December of 2023. And it's Missouri Humanities' latest digital programming initiative, which is a streaming platform dedicated to sharing film projects rooted in the humanities. So you can access HTV at h-tv.org, and where you can watch films from your browser or download the app to watch it on your mobile device or your smart TV. And the subscription is free. So it's a way for us to really hone in on a dedicated audience with curated content to eliminate the noise of all of the streaming services that are out there. So yes, we're another streaming service, but it's much more curated content. So the content that you find on there, if you like one video, you're probably going to like another. And it's been really great. It's been a lot of fun to have a home base for our content, but also to have a place for other humanists and humanities-minded people to put their content as well. So it's not just Missouri Humanities content. So from creators throughout the state and even nationwide, as we're trying to partner with other humanities councils who do film and digital content as well. So we invite submissions of your content. So if some of you have already created projects and you're looking to revive them, if it's been a little bit, it's done the festival thing, you've premiered it, maybe it needs some new life, we'd love to put it on HTV and get a new audience in front of it. If you're, trying to see how successful a project might be, if you've got questions, we'd love to work with you to bring your content to Humanities TV to bring to a new audience. So if you're interested in learning more about submitting a project to Humanities TV, send me an email. If you see Michael on the screen, he is our cinematographer. And so either Michael or myself are the contacts for Humanities TV, and we would be happy to talk with you about featuring content on our streaming service. So anybody have any questions about Humanities TV, about the film office, how they can help you, resources from Speak Up or Continuity or the work that Kyle or Dan does? Any more questions about grants? A couple have come in, so I'll kind of go through some of these. This might be a question, just Dan and Kyle, considering the work that you've done, do you have recommendations on how to find or connect with other investors that can work with the Missouri Humanities grant? So I imagine you mean if you apply for a grant and get the funding, other people to help put more funding into that project. So other investors in that kind of project.
Dan, I think, collectively you've probably raised more funds for this type of, piece. Obviously GoFundMe and, you know, Kickstarter and all these different platforms, they've changed. People have done, you know, great things with creating projects or products. There's a lot of different ways that people can actually connect with funding from those avenues. But I think, you know, doing it here locally, doing it here with our amazing arts organizations and partners like the Missouri Film Office and RAC and MAC and all these other places that really can feed into the work that Missouri Humanities is also supporting, Arts and Education Council. There's just, the list goes on and on. It just depends on whether or not, one, you have the bandwidth and the capacity to fill out and complete all the grants, and are you ready? You know, I think that's where it goes back to, you know, once you get that grant going, you can replicate that and you can do that and you can really find ways to generate hopefully a decent budget for your project. But as far as like individual donors and stuff like that, yeah, friends and family, great. Yeah, just yeah, that's all.
A couple advice I'd give is that I found a lot more success in local grants than national and international grants. When you look at trying to apply for Sundance or something, you're competing with people all over the world, right? For Sundance grants or Tribeca grants or something like that. So, and you know, when you're applying for Missouri grants, you're competing with people from all over Missouri, right? So what I found is that, you know, the more local, the better, right? You can meet the people that are giving you the grant. You can build relationships there. So Regional Arts Commission, thankfully, Missouri Humanities Council have people even in St. Louis where we could, you know, people live here could talk to, but start local. You'd be surprised at how much like getting a local grant, like boosts your excitement. And like, it's just really great to get that yes, right? And I think the local grants are more likely to get the yes. And the other thing I would say about finding people to support your project, nonprofits have money, right? Depending, you know, there's, you know, the zoo's a nonprofit, right? I mean, there are nonprofits that have tons of money. So there are places and opportunity out there. They're looking for people with creative concepts on how you can help solve their problems, how you can get more people to care about or attend or whatever they want. So think about that. Think about how your film project is going to solve some nonprofit's problem, because they'll put money into this. They will support this. They will match you. And then think about how anybody, whether that's individuals who have money or corporations, what people want is they have problems, they want to solve them. And if you can make an argument that your film project can solve their problem, can reach an audience they haven't been able to reach, that can tell something that they haven't, say something they've wanted to say, but they didn't know the best way how, you know, I think that's what our role as filmmakers is to come in with this creative concept and say, hey, did you ever think about this crazy idea of doing a documentary about such and such or a film about such and such? And then, you know, you just get their wheels rolling, right? And have examples ready. And places like MHC, the tax credit are those beautiful buffers, those strong partners you come in, but in general, you need somebody that's going to kind of be that funding core, because in general, I would say MHC, at least for, you know, a larger projects in the tax credit, they want to be a part of something that's kind of already rolling to some degree. Like they can't be the only money, and you can't even get the tax credit if you don't have a certain amount of money. So that's my advice, is just like figure out an organization or people, you know, someone you can solve problems for, and come up with a film idea around that.
And also, I think tying your connection to potentially someone, not necessarily like a local celebrity or anything like that, but somebody that's doing something, maybe somebody that's doing advocacy work, or somebody that actually has their own community bandwidth too, so that you are actually building on each other's community and reach. And that way you can actually connect to what they're doing in their work along with hopefully your work, building on each other's, you know, collective impact. That's something we hear often in nonprofits. And so that alone, and what you all are getting ready to step into with these grants, is the definition of collective impact if done well.
Amanda mentions that Seed and Spark is an amazing funding website. They give tons of support. So thank you, Amanda. Any additional questions via chat or Q&A in the last couple minutes? And don't worry, this is recorded, so we will have at least what got recorded the last time back on there. So anybody have any other questions before we end?
I'm curious what Kyle is going to say about AI.
We'll never know. They won't let us.
I saw that Tyler Perry was going to finish building his Atlanta studio. I don't know if it was like 80 million more, 800 million more, but he paused it when he saw some of the new AI software and what it could do with filmmaking. He just literally said, hey, I'm not going to pursue this anymore because I don't even know if people are going to need this much studio space, which was obviously a big statement from someone pretty powerful in the film industry. But I think it's doing cool things. I think it's going to be a while before it can like be as dialed in and as perfect as, you know, human beings shooting something. But I think it's a great tool for maybe like creative concepting. Like you can kind of say, hey, here's what I want something to look like. And you can type in prompts and see what it looks like. But I'm sure it's coming where, you know, maybe we need writers more than we need anybody else, because you can literally write something and it'll create it. It's kind of a crazy world we're living in.
Yeah.
Well, everyone, there's only about 20 of you left out of the original like 75. So I apologize for the abrupt ending, but I'm glad we at least got through quite a bit. So I will be sending a follow-up email here shortly with a lot of the resources that we talked about. I know a lot of people had questions that I wasn't able to answer about. And I just kind of as a, you know, just a time saver, we got a lot of questions about what project, like, will my project be eligible for funding? And then they list out kind of what their idea is. It's such a case-by-case basis that it's really hard to say yes or no. Give Clarice a call or an email, or, you know, submit it for review before the deadline. And like I said, it's a lot easier to say what won't be funded than what will be funded. So keep doing the good work that you guys are doing. I will send out all of our contact info and all the resources that we talked about today, so you guys have the best chance at submitting a successful grant application. And, you know, again, we appreciate you all being there. Again, sorry for the abrupt ending. I had more of a formalized ending for you all, but technology, right? AI didn't want us to talk about AI.
Technology. That's all you could, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your
All right.
day, and keep a lookout for an email and more from Missouri Humanities. Thanks so much. Dan, thank you.
Thanks, Clarice. Thanks, Caitlin.
Thanks, Caitlin.
Bye.
Bye.